Hello, this is McD the Beast, and this is McD Sports 4 coming to you today on what coaches need to start winning now, or else they might be out of a job by the season's end. Before I continue, hit that thumbs up button, please subscribe and share. We have a subscriber goal, 250 subscribers by the end of the year, so by December 31st, I want to hit that 250 subscriber mark. We're at 208 right now, so we need 42 subscribers. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're not a subscriber already. Greatly appreciate if you do that. So basically, I have 14 coaches that, in my opinion, I think should be on the hot seat. I'm going to be honest with you. I left out any coaches from the Conference USA, the Sun Belt, and the MAC because I'm going to be honest with you. I think as long you could go 6-6 and be fine in those conferences because those conferences kind of tend to lean on coaches for a longer time because they don't have the necessary resources to go ahead and fire a coach every few years. So that's basically why you're not going to see any coaches from those three conferences. But anyways, let's get into this. 9 Power 5 coaches and 5 Group of 5 coaches. So let's get into this. Okay, so I started off with the ACC. I think there's 3 coaches in the ACC that I think could get fired by the end of the year if they don't start winning. Willie Taggart's the first one. This guy, I really don't think knows what he's doing. I think he's all full in his head and everything. Florida State, they have a chance to make a bowl game, but even then, I don't know if he's going to be going ahead and be keeping his job. They have a big game against Miami this week. If they could beat Miami and then beat whoever else is on their schedule, I think he keeps his job, obviously. But Willie Taggart, he missed the bowl game last year with Florida State, which is really unacceptable. So, and he's not on pace to miss one this year, but it's going to be 7-5 at best. So, I think Willie Taggart, I think he needs to start winning in November, or else he's going to be out of a job. Next coach, Steve Addazio, with Boston College. I may be pronouncing his last name wrong. Addazio. Uh, I mean, is he any better than a 7-5 head coach? He's been there for a while. I know Boston College has been looking to get over the hump, and they have been kind of struggling at times this year. If he doesn't have a good November, do you think he might be gone? Maybe. It might be the case, but overall, I do think that out of the 3 ACC coaches, I do think he has the best shot at keeping his job, but he might be gone if they do not have a good November. So that's why I threw him on the list. And then the last coach I threw on the list is Justin Fournette. I know he's 5-2 right now, but if he has a bad November, he might be out of a job as well. So keep an eye on that as well. So it all depends on November for Steve Addazio and Justin Fournette. It all depends on November for them. Willie Taggart, I think he needs to start win. I think he needs to win. I don't think he needs. I think he can't go 500 there in November. So now moving on to the Big Ten, I think there's 2 coaches in the Big Ten that needs to win a lot in November. Jim Harbaugh is the first one. Listen, I mean, he's obviously going to get thrown on this list right here. If Jim Harbaugh, in my opinion, I do think that he is going to lose to Ohio State. But if that Ohio State game's close and they blow out the rest of their opponents, I mean, can you really let him go? I mean, I don't think so, but I think he has to blow out Maryland. He needs to blow out Michigan State. He needs to blow out Indiana. And then he needs to go ahead and either lose a very close game to Ohio State or beat Ohio State to keep his job. So that's where I am right now, Jim Harbaugh. The other coach in the Big Ten, this might come to a bit of a surprise, Mark D'Antonio. Listen, there's been rumblings out of East Lansing that he might have to have a good November to keep his job. They made the college football playoffs a few years ago before getting shut out by Alabama. Ever since then, I mean, their best season's been what, 8-4. So I mean, he had a 3-9 season. So he might have to. The rumbling sound like he needs to do well this November. So we'll see what happens. They have Michigan, they have Maryland on their schedule. I forget who else they have on their schedule, but he's going to probably Michigan State's probably going to have a really good November for him to keep his job. It sounds like he's actually kind of on the hot seat, so that's why he's on this list. And the Pac-12, I could really only thought about one coach, and that's Clay Helton. Listen, Clay Helton, he could go 9-3. He could win out and then lose the Pac-12 championship game and lose his job. I mean, he was on the hottest seat going into the season. Granted, they've been decent this year. They did go ahead and be a top 10 Utah team, so they do have one big win this year. They went on the road and came back against Colorado. Say what you want about that game, but they did come back against them, and they did lose to BYU, which was bad, and they did went ahead and lost to Washington. So say what you want about those two games. I think Washington is better than USC. BYU obviously not, but I think Clay Hilton, you got him in the hot seat if you have to make this list. I think he has to be on it, and he's going to have a really good November to go ahead and keep his job. He did beat Stanford as well, so I mean, it's not like he's not sitting there not being anybody that's not good, but I mean, it's USC. And the SEC, three coaches I think could lose their job. First one, Chad Morris. Arkansas has been an absolute disgrace for the past 2 years. They have their best shot this week against Mississippi State to win their first SEC game. If they don't win that, I think Chad Morris has to go. I mean, I know he's trying to change the whole offensive structure there, but I'm dead serious. You gotta win at least an SEC game here and there for people will be happy. And Chad Morris has been unable to do that. So I think he has to at least win an SEC game to keep his job. I think he has two shots to do it against obviously against Mississippi State. He has Missouri at the end of the year. I forget who else he has as well. LSU, they're not beating LSU, but he's gonna have, I think, two shots to win his SEC game. If he can't win an SEC game, I think he has to go. Second, coach in the SEC, Joe Moorhead. Listen, Mississippi State fans want him gone. There's been rumors that he wants to take the Rutgers job. Um, I mean, we'll see what happens. He has a game against Arkansas this week. I think Moorhead has to win this game or else he's gone. I think this game is very huge. Arkansas and Mississippi State. I took Arkansas in my college football picks of the week. So, and by the way, go check out that video here on the McD Sports 4 YouTube channel. But I mean, both coaches need that win desperately, in my opinion. Mississippi State, I mean, they did beat Kentucky. That's, I think, the only SEC win. They lost to Kansas State, but now all of a sudden, looking at Kansas State, that's obviously not a bad loss. They have Alabama coming up. That's going to be a loss. They have Ole Miss as well. More on Ole Miss here in a second. But Mississippi State, I think they got to be Arkansas, Ole Miss for Joe Moorhead to keep his job. And speaking about Ole Miss, Matt Luke at Ole Miss. Listen, he did beat Arkansas, which is good. But he hasn't beaten anybody else in the SEC, or he might have gotten another. Oh yeah, they beat Vandy. But Ole Miss is looking to get over the hump. It's not Matt Luke's fault that Ole Miss is this bad. It's because of cheating from the guy that's at Liberty. His name escapes me at this time. My apologies, but Matt Luke. I mean, maybe not. I think if he has an okay November, he's fine. But if he doesn't win a game at all this November, he might be out. So I think they have Mississippi State, beat them, and maybe find a way to win another SEC game. You still have LSU. I forget who else you get out of Oh yeah, I know who else you got. You lost them. You lost to Missouri. You get LSU. You get Mississippi State. Who else did you get? Auburn. If you could beat Auburn this week, I mean, I think that keeps his job no matter what. So we'll see what happens. But I think Matt Luke is on a bit of a hot seat. Not his fault though. And then before I get to the group of five, a few other coaches I considered here. I did consider Gus Malzahn, and listen, Gus Malzahn. Say what you want about him. I mean, he's 6-2. I mean, if Auburn really wants to sit there and fire a coach that goes 9-3, be my guest, but that would be idiotic in my opinion. Because Auburn, in my opinion, I do think Auburn is not a tier one school. I think they're one of these schools every 5 years that have an amazing year. Like they're kind of like the Iowa of the SEC. Then in the Pac-12, I considered UCLA with Chip Kelly. I consider the Oregon State coach, but both of them they're winning in Pac-12 games. I mean, Oregon State has two Pac-12 wins and third place in the Pac-12 North right now. UCLA has three Pac-12 wins, so they're winning in the Pac-12. So I couldn't consider them. I didn't consider anybody in the Big 12. I think there's going to be no coaches fired in the Big 12 this year. And then Big Ten, I looked around. I mean, I could maybe go Scott Frost at Nebraska, but I don't think he's going to get fired, so that's why I left him out. And Rutgers already fired their head coach. And I don't think like Purdue and Northwestern are going to fire their head coaches. And then I looked at the ACC. I looked around Syracuse. I think this year was kind of a honeymoon year for them. I don't see Dino Babers getting fired this year, but next year, if he has a similar season, maybe. Um, I don't think any of the North Carolina coaches are going to get fired. Obviously, Dabo Swinney's not going to get fired. Georgia Tech is a first-year head coach. I thought about putting Manny Diaz on the list. He's a first-year head coach, though. I don't think they're going to fire Manny Diaz. I highly doubt that they're going to do that. And, I mean, they're not going to fire Narduzzi at Pitt. Louisville head coach, the guy came from App State, no way they're firing him. And basically, I just don't think they're going to be fired. I think no one else is going to get fired here in the ACC. So that's kind of how the Power Five is. Also, Notre Dame, real quick. I don't think they're firing Brian Kelly. I think as long as Notre Dame continues going like 9-3 every season, they're not going to fire Brian Kelly. Unless it's like consistent after like 10 years. But anyways, let's get into the group of five schools. First school, I only did the American and Mountain West here. Charlie Strong. Listen, I think Charlie Strong was hired to come in and basically go to New Year's Six Bowls at South Florida. They've been kind of a disappointment this year. They've been kind of up and down. I think he has to have a strong November for him to keep his job. Maybe if he has an average November, maybe they give him another year. But if he poops the bed this November, I think he's gone. So Charlie Strong is a coach that I think that needs to at least have like a 500 November. And here are the other four coaches that I considered. Another one from the American and three from the Mountain West. Randy Edsall, who's a terrible head coach, by the way. Is UConn going to fire him? I know he has a lot of roots up there at UConn, but he's been god awful for them. I mean, UConn, they're 2-6. I mean, is UConn even going to compete for a bowl game in the next few years? I don't think so. They're leaving the American to be an independent because they want to go to the Big East. So, which is FCS play. But they're going to keep the football program as an independent. So I don't know how that's going to work out. I think UConn should personally just go all the way to FCS. And then look at a few of these other teams like North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and JMU that deserve to be in FBS. So that's what I think should happen there. And then to the Mountain West, Tony Sanchez. Man, I pronounced that so bad. Tony Sanchez with UNLV. I don't think he's that good of a head coach. They played. I mean, outside being Vanderbilt, going out there and beating them in Nashville, what has he done in his tenure at UNLV? Nothing. So I think he has to at least have an okay November to keep his job. I look at Mike Bobo at Colorado State. I know they'll kind of improve this year, but I think he still has to have a decent November as well. You look at Mike Bobo, took over a team that went 10-2, back to back to back 7-5 years, and last year it went 3-9. I think he has to have at least a decent November to keep his job, and he has a chance to do that. They're playing UNLV this upcoming Saturday. If he can win that game and find a way to win another game in November, because they're Final 3 games are kind of tough with like Air Force, Boise State, and I think someone else that's kind of tough. If he could find a way to beat UNLV and at least win one of those games, maybe even two of them, I think he'll be fine. And then Bob Davie, I think needs to go no matter what happens. Personally, I know he had a health scare earlier this year, but I think that Bob Davie has to go. And New Mexico has an amazing November. And by the way, I think New Mexico is the worst team in the Mountain West. So um, I highly doubt they're gonna have a amazing November, but maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know, but I think that Bob Davie, out of all these coaches, I think he should be the most likely to go. So yeah, but that's all. Those are 14 coaches. If you look around BYU, I consider their head coach. His name escapes me, but I consider him. I don't think they're gonna fire him. I think the guy has enough big time wins to keep him around another year, but next year he'll be on the hot seat. So I left him off the list. Look at the Conference USA. I mean, the Conference USA, people think it sucks. It's just top heavy. If you look at, I mean, some of those coaches may be candidates for higher up jobs. I know like the UAB coach will be Lane Kiffin. Someone might try to see if they can hire him, but those are high end coaches. Not high end, but those coaches on the teams that are better in the Conference USA might be considered for better jobs. But in the Conference USA, UTSA, UTEP, Rice. Actually, I'm going to keep Rice off. I know Rice hasn't not won a game this year, but Rice is playing a lot of their opponents tough. But those two coaches, UTEP, UTSA, Old Dominion, who else is not that good? Like none of the good teams, but their coach has been around for 3 or 4 years. I think they gotta be on this list. You look at the Sun Belt, Texas State, South Alabama, those two teams specifically. If those head coaches been around for a while, they need to be considered on the hot seat. And then in the MAC just beats up on each other. So any of the coaches that are consistently bad, like goes less than like 4-8, that's basically the coaches you will look at to be on this list. But anyways, that's my list. Comment down below. Tell me coaches that you think could maybe be fired at the end of the season if they don't start winning now. And hit that like button, the subscribe button, share the video, help us reach our goal. We have a goal of 250 subscribers by the end of the year, so help us reach that. Thanks for watching. McD the Beast here signing off.